So how do we read this? Is this Tsipras caving in, and given the stresses on the Greek economy and the capital controls in place, perhaps no surprise there?
Yeah, I think that's the most obvious way of reading it, isn't it? This was, in many ways, similar to the proposal that was put forward on the 26th by the institutions and then rejected on the 5th by the Greek people. Mr. Tsipras campaigned for that rejection, and now he is putting a plan together that looks remarkably similar to it, Anna. So, yes, I think it probably is fair to say that he has caved in, and he's caved in some key areas as well. We are going to see major VAT reform. Looks like we may see the Greek islands being spared the worst of that, the most remote ones, and we are going to see pension reform. So some of the key areas that Mr. Tsipras had campaigned on, it looks like he's backtracked now on and is proposing as part of the plan. So, in essence, it won't be spun this way, but it does look remarkably like he's given in to the creditors' demands, Anna.
The no vote that we saw over the weekend, when the Greek population said no to something that looked very similar to this, but with crucial differences, I suppose, around debt. How is Tsipras going to get this through his own party? How is the party going to react?
Well, what we understand is that right now, as of 5 minutes ago, there was a meeting called around the corner at the Syriza party headquarters to discuss the plan. There are definitely elements, we understand, from the left fringes of what is already a fairly left-leaning party that are very concerned that certain red lines have been crossed and they're not happy. It'll be interesting to see, you mentioned the parliamentary vote that is coming up very shortly as well, whether or not Syriza backs Tsipras in this, whether or not his own party backs him, because this has always been one of the concerns. He could get pretty much any plan through Parliament, but the question about his own party always remained. So if that doesn't happen and he has to rely on other parties, there then comes this issue of whether or not he has a mandate to govern and whether or not we ultimately end up with elections here in Greece. That is a question that people will be asking this morning. But what we have seen over the last few weeks is that there is only one person that is standing out from the crowd as a political leader at the moment, and that is Mr. Tsipras. He remains incredibly popular with the people, Anna.
Yeah, indeed. Hans, let's come to you. So Tsipras has laid forward his demands. They include, or his offer and his demands, and the demand in there really is debt restructuring. It's been something the Greeks have talked about for a long time. The Europeans haven't wanted to talk about that. Is that going to change?
Well, it looks like the Germans have given a little ground on this, but it's unclear just how much ground, and that's really the key question right now. Yesterday, you saw Donald Tusk, you saw, of course, Jacques Lew and Madame Lagarde making the strong case for it. Here's what Mrs. Merkel said about debt restructuring yesterday. She said, "I have said that a classic haircut is out of the question for me, and that hasn't changed between yesterday and today." Now, earlier, Mr. Wolfgang Schäuble, the finance minister, did indicate that maybe you could have some sort of restructuring, reprofiling, but not a traditional haircut. He was almost contradictory in what he said. I'm going to put up the quote for you so you can actually read it for yourself. At first, he said, debt sustainability is not feasible without a haircut. And I think the IMF is correct in saying that. And then later he said there cannot be a haircut because it would infringe on the system of the European Union. The tension between those two quotes from Schäuble is really a question of will Germany give and how will they try to finesse this idea of debt reprofiling? Will there be a haircut? Will there be a change in the nominal value of Greece's debt? Now, one thing overlaying all this is the budget that they have submitted, the proposal that Greece has submitted. Yes, it could be Tsipras caving to his creditors, but it doesn't take into account the cave of the Greek economy. So when everyone sits around Brussels tomorrow and on Sunday, and they're looking at all the numbers, are they using the old GDP projections, or are they using GDP projections that factor in that the economy has been in a free fall for 2 weeks because of capital controls? They can take the old projections, right? But, Anna, let's be clear. That's a giant myth. If you're sitting around the table pretending that the economy hasn't collapsed, those numbers around the negotiating table are not real. That's fine for the purpose of negotiations. The question is, can you sell those fake numbers to parliaments? Because no one accepts that 1%, 2%, and 3% of primary surplus of what they're actually taking in, not including debt payments, that those numbers are real once you factor in what's happened in the Greek economy. So that's really the key question I have. Are they dealing with fake numbers or are they dealing with real numbers? And will parliaments, particularly the Bundestag, accept the fake numbers if those are indeed the ones they use? Anna?